Yo, what's going on, you rapists? It's Nick Daniels here, coming at you live, man, yet again. Today we're just hanging out at the old Salt Marsh Trail. You know, you can't really see it, but hang on here. Let's get the old flip. Look at that. So there you go. To get the zoom. Oh yeah. There you go. So yeah, Salt Marsh. Pretty good time. Anyway, but we figured we talk about something that's a little bit, I don't even know if it's online dating. I guess it kind of is, but I got some updates about that, so we'll go from there. But anyway, I haven't used online dating in a while because I've actually kind of been dating somebody. I know, strange. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, so we're not going to talk about that, but it's been going well. That's all we're going to say. And so anyway, I haven't opened up like Hinge or Bumble or anything in like, I don't even know, man, ages. Honestly, it feels like it's been forever, but it's probably only really been like, a month. But needless to say, I went on this free webinar the other day. So this webinar was basically just for like, it was kind of like more for the first dates for men. It was a men-only webinar. It was interesting because I ended up leaving a little early just for a couple reasons, but I just wasn't feeling it. But there was just a bunch of things in there that I really just didn't agree with at all, or that I already felt like I knew, and whatever. But I'll reiterate a few of them because I thought it was interesting. So basically, the whole point of this webinar, like I said, was to kind of ensure you had a good first date as a male. Specifically only from the male perspective. And there was definitely a few things that, like I said, I don't know. Like, I thought were common sense, and maybe they're not. Obviously, I don't remember everything, but I'll try to go through with what I can. But like a couple of the points too, like the main idea of it, like, was to be like a gentleman. Like that was the main thing that was coming across, was to be a gentleman. Chivalry isn't dead. And there was a lot of things that were a little too formal. Like, it was like, oh, you want to go out for a drink, which is fine. It's a great date. You go out for a beer, right? You go out for a drink, and it takes that edge off, right? And, a couple of the ideas was like, oh, she comes in, like, you stand up and, like, greet her. You, like, pull her chair out. You get her jacket for her. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, I'm not dating somebody who's, like, disabled, who can't do that. Like, I don't see that ever. Like ever. Like, I guarantee you, like, barely any first dates ever. The guy's like standing up when the girl comes in, grabs her jacket for her, like helps her with her purse. Like, I'm sure she can do that. Like, maybe on the way out, yeah, like, maybe you can hand something to her. I don't think that's a bad thing. And that was mentioned. It was like, oh, you can help her with her jacket, like, as you guys are leaving. I think that's fine. But like, coming in, it's like way too formal, way too intimidating. A little too serious for my liking. You got to ensure some type of physical contact. Thank you. And whether that just be, apparently it was like maybe like guiding her through the door, like just putting a hand on her back. I was like, hey, I don't know, man. You gotta, a lot of that is like, and it wasn't said, but a lot of that you gotta like really read the room. You really gotta, like these fucking lovebirds over here just being retards. They're out on a fucking trail just holding each other. Like, it's just making me, I want to throw up looking at that. But like, yeah, like, you gotta read the room, and if the person you're on a date with isn't being a little too close, like they're kind of being a little distant, which, can be perfectly fine on a first date. I think you kind of embrace that. You just kind of replicate what they're doing, in my opinion. You just kind of roll with that. Like, if you're sitting at a bar, and they're a little close to you, and, it is a little flirty, you roll with that, right? You go with it. But if it's not, you don't necessarily initiate that. You just, again, you kind of just roll with it. You kind of just go with what you're given. And that was mentioned once or twice on this thing. It was kind of like you go with it. It was like sex talk. Like, who the fuck talks about that on a first date? Like, I guess, it doesn't really sound like a first date to me. It sounds like a first bang. But apparently that comes up, in conversation. And I was like, well, again, it's like the same idea. It's like, if, she brings it up, I just think it looks stupid if you're like, oh, so I like getting peed on. I just, it sounds a little odd, right? You wait till a second date to say about the golden showers. Sorry, we got a couple coming, so I might just get a little awkward for a minute. Yeah, there they are. I don't know, it might be two girls, actually, I don't know. But yeah, and like a couple of the things was kind of, again, like common sense. Like, it wasn't like, it was like, oh, you got to be positive. You can't bring up anything negative. Like, I'm not going to show up and just start like bitching out work or something. Like, obviously I'm going to come in there and I'm just going to be myself and do that. What was another one? It was like hiking. It was like not a good one. It's like, oh, don't take her on a hike on the first date. It was like, yeah, obviously not. Like I said, there's just like yeah, like dinner was one. Like it's a little too formal. I'm like, you don't think like standing up and like getting your fucking coat for her, like barely even meeting her, is not too formal. And a lot of these were also supposed to be like from online dating. So like you met somebody on Hinge, the first date. I'm like, I don't think on the first date you're doing any of that stuff. You know, like there was a couple. One was like another. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place here, but like one was like offering to drive home, which I think you just do out of courtesy. I never take any insult to that on a first date. If like they say no, I just kind of expect a no because I think it's a first date and it's a little too soon for that. Even if it's just driving them home, because then you know where they live. You know, it could be kind of weird. So, but yeah, so I always wait a couple dates before I even try. Like, hey, like, do you want a lift or something like that? But if I do offer it before that, it's purely like I'm not expecting them to say yes. If they do, that's perfectly fine as well. You know, I think it does kind of look a little better on you. Like, I think it's just the more you kind of put into it. There was also talk of like a date outfit. I mean, I just wear whatever the hell I want. But I mean, at least like the first one, I do attempt, you know, to like tidy up a little bit. You know, I do a good shave. You know, trim the old hedges, if you know what I'm saying. And you know, yeah, you just, you know, you prep up. You put on a little salute juice, you know, and you know, you smell a little good. But it's just interesting seeing this like webinar. Like, you know, a couple more points in it, obviously, but it was like, you know, some of them was like about the negative thing. It was like, oh, like don't bring up your exes. I'm like, you know, that's actually happened. Like, I actually thought it was pretty funny hearing that, and then I actually really thought about it. I'm like, you know what? I've actually had a girl do that to me. She, like, immediately brought up ex-boyfriends. I was like, why? Like, clearly there's a problem there. Like, you know, there's one factor was, like, it's her that's just venting about it, and I was like, dude, like, listen. Like, I don't need to hear that on a first date. I don't know you. Like, literally, I didn't know this girl, and then it was like, that's my reward for, like, meeting her, was, like, and doing all this. I was like, yeah. Paying the bill is a good thing, and like the person on the webinar really made it seem like you have to insist. Even if they insist, you have to like more insist. That's what I think of that. Thanks. But yeah, it's just like, man, I can't. Sorry, just a bicycle coming here. There he goes. Yeah. Look at him. Can you? Oh, you can't see him. Maybe you can. But yeah, it's just like, dude, I don't know. I made a video on the paying the bill on the first time. But that person I'm seeing right now, we've split the bill every time, and I'm perfectly, like, I'm content with that. I don't find that's a problem. But it was funny because one of the videos I made, I had a guy commenting, telling me basically I was a retard and couldn't provide for women. I mean, I don't know about you, man. I just think that's I think it's a smarter idea, man. I mean, you save a couple bucks. Why would I pay for 2 dinners when I could pay for 1? You know, I definitely think there's an impression behind it. But you know, you gotta realize too, like a lot of cultures, it's actually an insult to kind of do that, right? You are to split. Like if you kind of forced your way and were like, yeah, no, I'm paying for that shit, and you're like, you know, I have to provide. You know, you can insult someone. So you just go with it, in my opinion, right? Like, I mean, the default should be that you pay the meal, I think. But I mean, if the first date and she's insisting to split it, she's like, oh no, listen, let's split it. You know, really the only follow-up, in my opinion, is 2 options. You either just say sure, or you say, well, how about I grab this one and you grab the next one, and that one rolls into a second date, because then that almost, it gives that idea you're pushing it forward, right? Anyway, just to wrap it up here, but yeah, so like, and then at the end of it, like at the end of the date, you kind of hang around for a minute anyway. I think that's a really great idea, actually. That was one of the real takeaways I had from it, but I already knew this. But it was definitely hanging out after the first date, like not just leaving, like not like if you're in an establishment for a drink, you finish the drink, you're heading out, you both leave the building, you don't just go, okay, cool, see ya, and you bounce. You just talk to her for like another minute or two, and I guarantee that goes I think it goes a long way, because it, in my opinion, it would make her feel valued. Right? Like you're not just bailing the moment you get a chance. Like you still kind of want to have that conversation. You know, I hear it all the time, like, oh man, you just need to sit there and listen the entire date. I don't think that's necessarily true. But, sorry, I think I cracked the microphone there, or hit it. But yeah, like it was like no monologuing, like stuff like that. Like, okay, like, yeah, I can figure that out. Like, obviously I'm not just going to go in a huge tangent about plenty of fish on the first date. You know, I'm going to give a little time to that. So yeah, there's a couple of things that was just like, yeah, you gotta be fucking joking me. But like for the most part, it wasn't too bad. Obviously, like I said, I did leave a few minutes early, but I think it was like wrapping up anyway. So anyway, that's all I got. I just want to make a quick one here, and I know just have a bit of a ramble. That's all it really was anyway. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. We're gonna see you in the next one, and I don't know what I'm gonna talk about next. Maybe fucking Shang-Chi or whatever the hell it was, and we'll see you then. Peace.